Welcome to the Stick the Landing podcast, brought to you by Iron Business Solutions. We've got stories to tell and solutions to deliver for your business. Today, I have a very special guest, Adysen Mazzoni. Welcome to the show. It's refreshing to meet a young lady with so much drive, so much ambition, so much success, and yet to be so grounded and so humble. She's a level 10 gymnast, and audience, what you need to know if you're not in the gymnastics world is there are two sorts of compartments in the gymnastics world. We have elite, which is the route where if you're trying to compete internationally, you're in the elite track. And then we have DP, which is for the kids that just want to compete within the United States. And they have levels 1 through 10, level 10 being the highest. So Addie is the highest nationally competing level gymnast at LaFleur's in Largo, Florida. She's a gymnastics social media influencer, although she doesn't think of herself as one. And she's the founder of Chalkboss, a gymnastics apparel company, all at the ripe old age of 17. How are you, and how was your mini tourist trip around Nashville yesterday?
I'm good, and my trip to Nashville was so much fun. It was really great.
Cool. We tried to do all the touristy things with you guys, the murals and get pictures and all that kind of crazy stuff. I should also mention that appearing with Addie today is her biggest fan, her entire support system, and up until very recently, her taxi driver, Adysen Mazzoni, best known as Addie's mom. Marsha, thank you for coming on and being willing to provide a perspective or two, as well as keeping us safe sport compliant. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me today.
It's my pleasure. Did you enjoy your time in downtown Nashville yesterday?
I did enjoy my time in downtown Nashville. Saw a lot of sights. Actually, from being from Florida, it felt kind of at home.
All right, so Addie, the Olympic Games, at least in terms of gymnastics, have just wrapped up. Let's start here with the men's gymnastics team final. What were you thinking while that was going on?
We did watch the men's team final. I was kind of surprised by Brody Mullen's falls on high bar.
Wait, that wasn't the team final, that was the team qualifier. Because in the finals...
Wait, he didn't fall in the finals.
No, that's right. The men went 18
himself.
for 18 in the final. It was the only shot they had to get a medal at all, as if every single guy hit, and they all did. Yeah.
I don't even really know what I was thinking during the team finals, I guess, because I'm not really into sports too often.
Okay, all right, that's fair. I love the Olympics. I'll watch any sport that's on in the Olympics. I'm not going to go watch curling. You know that thing in the Winter Olympics where they slide a rock down the ice and then somebody sweeps it or whatever? Like, I don't even know how you get points for that stuff. But for some reason in the Olympics, I'm watching that, right? So I'm watching them all. Of course, I watched the men's team final. And although I'm a women's gymnastics coach and a much bigger women's gymnastics fan than I am a men's gymnastics fan, I was glued to the TV in the men's team final. It was one of the most exciting gymnastics events I've ever watched. Especially, I've never been so excited for a bronze medal in my whole life. And by the way, I'm talking about it like I had something to do with it. Like, we got a bronze. We as in the U.S. got a bronze, but we as in me, I didn't help at all. I was just excited for those guys. And when Harry Potter nailed that pommel horse routine and it sealed the deal for us, I was all over that. All right, let's back up before the actual Olympics. Let's go back to trials. Who was your favorite athlete at trials? And then were you surprised or disappointed, or do you have any thoughts about all the injuries?
Hesley, because I felt like she was doing so great for having such little experience.
Did you have a sense or a feeling, like even during trials, that you thought she might make it?
I was a little unsure at some points, but I felt like she's going to make it. She was doing great, and I felt like all the other girls who have already made it were such a good role model for her. So I feel like that really helped her mentally try and get through it.
So obviously, like the rest of us, by day 2 and stuff, I was thinking, yeah, she has a shot. But before trials, there's no chance that, in my mind, that she was going to make it. But there were 3 catastrophic injuries for some people that were serious contenders in Kayla DiCello, Sky Blakely, and Shilese Jones. Right? And man, I felt for those girls. And I know you can relate, because we're going to talk later in this podcast about some injuries that created setbacks for you. So when you found out about these, did you have any sort of reaction or anything like that?
It It was definitely like devastating to hear about them because I feel like they all had a really good shot of making the Olympic team.
What did you think of what happened to Jade Carey on floor in the qualification round? And my audience, if you're not in the gymnastics world, there's no reason for you to know this. But Jade Carey was sick with sort of like flu-like symptoms, whatever they say about that, and hadn't eaten for almost 48 hours going into team qualifications. And she has one of the most difficult floor routines in the world. Obviously, Simone's going to blow everybody away. But her routine is crazy difficult. And just ran out of gas going into that last pass. And it was catastrophic because instead of doing, I don't know what she normally does, like she does a front through to a double tuck, I think, on her last pass. And instead of doing the double tuck, which is a C valued at 3/10, she did just a back tuck, which is an A. But because it was also a 2 salto double pass, she lost a 10th, I think, in bonus. Then she went completely out of bounds and fell. So this was like a 1.3 or 1.5 mistake. Were you watching that and were you just going, what just happened?
Yeah, I was watching and I was shocked that she just wouldn't pull for the double. But I also understand like she wasn't feeling great and it could have prevented injury.
So you'd have pulled for that double.
I don't know what I would have done in this situation.
I'm just kidding. So tell us about how you watched the women's team final.
Personally, I wouldn't have watched it, but we ended
This
up.
is awful. This is awful. You're a high-level gymnast. You're getting ready to do college gymnastics in just about another year. You have a gymnastics apparel company, and you're like, yeah, I wasn't going to watch it except...
We had Olympic watch party at our gym, so I decided, okay, I'll stay after practice and I'll watch it with everybody.
Yeah,
and I'm kind of glad I did.
I'll throw everybody a bone and stick around.
I'm glad I did. It was so fun. It was a good experience to have with my team.
All right, bunch of your gymnastics friends there. Were you surprised at all by the women's team results?
I was a little surprised, but like when it came to the U.S. like winning, I was not.
Right, yeah.
But other than that, I don't know much about it.
All right, so move on to the women's all-around. Simone won, Rebecca Andrade got second, and Suni got third. And after 2 events, I think I was going to sort of say, well, Simone messed up her bar routine. Messed up might be too strong. It wasn't her best bar routine, right? We can all agree on that. So she goes vault, blows it out of the water, but Rebecca's very strong on vault, right? She also blows it out of the water. They go to bars. Rebecca does a beautiful bar routine, and Simone doesn't do one. And so we're 2 events into this, and suddenly Simone the Great isn't leading. Like Rebecca's in first. Were you shocked at all?
I was a little shocked, yes, because I feel like everybody expected Simone to win because she's the greatest one out there. But
yeah, I mean, it's okay to call her the GOAT. I think that's indisputable, like greatest female gymnast ever. So they get to the 3rd event, which is beam. She does a nice beam routine. So does Rebecca. And now she's either ahead. I think she's ahead by like a 10.5 or something close like that after beam. But it's still like, hey, Simone can't afford to fly out of bounds a bunch of times or mess up a pass or whatever. Because if Rebecca hits floor and Simone doesn't, Rebecca could win the all-around. So for me, that was one super exciting thing about the all-around, right? Then you had Suni, right, who's the previous Olympic all-around gold medalist, but has all these, in the last 2 years, like catastrophic, like she's got some kind of kidney disease or a couple of kidney diseases, right, that cause her to have to no longer compete in college. At one point, she gets told, you're probably never going to do gymnastics again. And here she is, not only qualified to the Olympics, but she's in a battle for the all-around gold on floor, which is our last event, where nobody says, hey, you know what Suni's great at? Floor. It's not like she's bad at floor, but what she's sort of known for, right, is beam and bars. And she has to have a floor routine like no other to be able to get a medal. And what does she do? Nails it. Were you excited about Suni? Were you more excited about Suni or more excited about Simone?
I'd say more excited about Suni.
And why is that?
Because she's had a lot of like difficulties and challenges to overcome, and for her to be able to do that and end up back in the Olympics is just, it's such a great like story to tell for her.
Totally agree. It's inspiring, right? Like, who wouldn't be inspiring by all that? And then for me, there was some other cool stuff. You had the team competition, which went USA, Italy, and then Brazil, right? So gold, silver, bronze. And then in the all-around, you had USA, Brazil, USA, so gold, silver, bronze again. And what was so exciting for me is these athletes that are on the Brazilian women's team are the coaches that currently work for me at ECT Gymnastics, former athletes. So if you go all the way back to the 2016 games in Rio, you see these coaches on the floor with the Brazilian athletes. And that's sort of when like Brazil gymnastics got on the map, because it's not like any one of us, I was going to say growing up in the 80s, but you weren't even a thought in the 80s. It's not like we grew up going, oh, wow, that gymnastics powerhouse Brazil over there, right? So for my business, my gymnastics business, whenever the United States does well in gymnastics, it's good for us. But when the USA does great and Brazil does great and the Brazilian former national team staff is working at my gym, like, I'm living high on the hog right now. This was really spectacular for me. I don't think anyone was surprised, right, that Simone won gold on vault or that Rebecca won silver. But were you as stoked as I was that Jade was able to make her way into the bronze medal on vault?
Yeah, I was super excited for her.
Right, because for the audience members that don't keep track of this or whatever, Jade Carey made vault finals in the 2021 games in Tokyo and messed up her steps running down for vault. And so when she came onto the table, all she could do was a little tuck vault, which basically eliminated her from any sort of contention there. So for her to be able to come back from the Tokyo games and nail a vault and get a medal was awesome. And then for her to come back from being sick in the team qualification on floor and be able to get healthy enough to do a good vault and do it. For me, highlights all around, man. I absolutely was stoked about that. We were talking earlier today that you had a chance maybe to go to London and hop on over to Paris and see the Olympics. And you were like, nah, why would I do that? Right? So talk to my audience about why somebody because audience, this kid loves gymnastics, absolutely loves gymnastics. Why is it you don't watch gymnastics?
I like to leave gymnastics at gymnastics. I don't like it, don't want it to be brought home or at school or with friends. So I just prefer it to stay at practice and with comps and everything. So I don't like to.
So here we have this 17-year-old kid with a super mature perspective, right? That she says, let me essentially leave work at work and right? As adults, can't we learn that? How many times have I been frustrated at work and come home and been grouchy at the kitchen table, you can sort of hear me grunt and my fork is scraping the plate and my knife. And then the rest of the family is on eggshells over here because we're like, what's going to set off Dad? What at 17 years old, I'm 52 and I've got to learn from you. Hey, why not leave gymnastics at gymnastics, have school at school, have family at family? I need to learn to do that. And like you, I love my work. I love gymnastics. But sometimes it comes home with me. So good on you for having that perspective. I wish I was a little bit more mature, like the 17-year-old sitting across from me. But was there anything that stood out for you in any of the women's individual event finals or the all-around, something you go, oh, man, I loved this?
Suni's beam. I absolutely love watching her on beam. I'm not a real big person that likes watching beam. But
Yeah,
I just
me neither. Beam's lame.
Yeah, I just really enjoyed watching her on beam. Her presence is just amazing up there.
So you liked watching her fall in the beam final?
Well, when she didn't fall, whenever she was there when she
she does. I'll give you that. She has beautiful
she's Great.
beautiful beam. And like you, I'd rather watch just about anything in gymnastics than beam. And I think part of that is because my wife and I always had a rivalry, like what could score higher, beam or bars at meets. And she won that as much or more than I did. So what about this Namor stuff from Algeria? Wins a gold medal, Africa's first ever gold medal in gymnastics, or medal of any kind in gymnastics, right? And it turns out she's not actually Algerian. She's from France. The Olympics are in Paris. The French Federation of Gymnastics is going crazy from 2020 to 2024, trying to put up a great gymnastics team because women's gymnastics is one of the premier events at the Olympics. It's one of the hardest tickets to get, and everybody loves to watch this. And they put together a pretty good team. But what my audience may not know, that behind the scenes, Namor was a part of the French national training group or whatever. And the rumors are that they didn't like her coach. So they asked her to leave the coach and come train with this other coach. And she said, no, I really like my coach, which, by the way, is interesting. We'll talk about this with you later because you have a couple of coaches that you have really connected with. And that if right now somebody did this to you, you'd find a way to follow these coaches, which I think is great. And so when she said, I won't leave this coach, they closed the facility where she trained. Literally, the national office said, nope, we're closing down this facility and we're not bringing this coach over to the new facility. So now you have no choice. What does she do? She goes, well, my dad has an Algerian passport. I'm going to see if I can compete for Algeria, right? So her and her coach go to Algeria. They train. They file all the necessary paperwork to get her qualified. Meanwhile, France implodes during qualification. The team doesn't make finals. Not one French gymnast makes finals on a single event. And this kid who's actually French is competing for a country in Africa and wins the gold medal. Yikes.
Yeah.
Yikes. What a beautiful bar. You love bars, right? Me too.
Yeah.
I love watching bars. I love coaching bars. Bars. Dynamic, beautiful, flowing, rhythmic. I watched Namor's bar routine and said, that's the gold medal bar routine. I don't need to see anything else. If you could have Mary Lee Tracy or Tom Forster for 1 year helping your team program develop, how much better off would your athletes be? Better yet, with their tutelage, how much better of a coach would you become? Go to ironbusinesssolutions.com today and take advantage of our limited time pricing. Let's move off the Olympic gymnastics and let's talk about Addison, the gymnast. Marsha, let me ask you, how old was Addie when you put her in the sport and what prompted it?
So Addie was 4 years old when we put her in gymnastics. Previously, I wanted a dancer. I have 3 other girls. So they've tried gymnastics, they tried dance. Neither one of them liked anything. They moved on. So I said, all right, one more try. So I put her in
Were you a dancer?
No, but I always wanted to be.
Okay, all right.
So I put her into the dance class, and we went maybe 3 times. And the instructor comes out afterwards, and like she's really strong. I thought this was going to be a great thing for her, and she's like, but we can't accept her into our program. She just isn't a right fit, which means I ask her to do run, leap. It's like run, leap. She's doing a front roll out of it or whatever the case may be.
Nice.
She was adding extra. So go to gymnastics. And I knew of somebody that owned a gymnastics.
Wait. I want to back up because in one of our Zoom conferences, you gave me a phrase that somebody might have said about Addie. Something about maybe her being hyper?
She was very hyper.
She was too hyper to do dance.
She was too hyper and unfocused. She just wanted to do her own thing, and it did not mean keeping 2 feet on the ground. So
Love it.
Yes. So we took her to a gym that we knew the owner and said, hey, can you evaluate her? We would put her into rec or pre-team or whatever. She went in for an evaluation. She came back out. And again, she's 4 years old, still in preschool. And she's like, we're putting her on level 3. I didn't know what that meant. And I was like, okay. She's like, oh, she's going to compete, whatever. I'm like, okay, that's fine. But we have to wait till she's 5, which was like 4 weeks away from the time that we took her for the evaluation. And it's just something she has loved ever since.
All right, I'm going to back up a little bit because I love the quote of, hey, she's too hyper for dance. She needs to do gymnastics. When my wife and I were coaching together, we always started little guy training groups with separate kids. I'd pick out kids, she'd pick out kids. And everybody else in the gym knew who picked out which kids because I always picked the super hyper, no flexibility, super strong, bouncing off the walls, cutting kids in line, like obnoxious little terrors. And my wife always picked kids that should have been in dance because they weren't hyper, they were super flexible, they listened, they were graceful. Well, since she was the beam and floor dance choreography coach, I understand why she picked that. And because I was the bars and vault and tumbling coach, I wanted crazy little Addies on my team. And then when it was time to get to like level 3 or whatever, we would join our 2 groups together, and it was always a lot of fun. So, Addie, I'm certain I would have picked you, and my wife would have looked past you. She'd have picked the dancers. So then you get on team, Addie, and you're just about to be 5, and you're competing level 3. Do you got any like cute stories or fun stories from when you were a little guy doing gymnastics?
One that I can remember was level 3 states. We were warming up for beam, and it was on like a basketball floor.
And you're 5.
Yes, I
Okay,
was 5.
love it.
And I was doing something on the floor, and my hands had slipped, and I had smacked my face on the floor, and
So you went face first into the basketball floor.
Yes, and I was given like an option to like either pull out my tooth because my tooth was gonna fall out.
You knocked your own tooth out when you landed on your face? Okay.
Yes. And or like don't finish the meet, go to the doctor to have them deal with it. And I chose to pull out my own tooth because I wanted to finish
Yeah,
the
you
meet.
literally did it. You reached your hand into your mouth, ripped out the tooth, and said, here's the tooth, where's the beam, right?
Pretty much.
What about when you were little, grilled cheese?
Before every meet when I was younger, I had to have a grilled cheese and chocolate milk.
Okay, why is that?
I don't know.
You just got it in your head like, hey, this is the power meal right here, grilled cheese and chocolate milk? All right.
And so, like, even if we had, like, a 8 a.m., like, travel meet, they would figure out a way to bring a grilled cheese maker or bring a grilled cheese to make me a grilled cheese.
But what a good mom, right? Marsha's over there going, how do I get my hands on a portable grilled cheese maker? Who manufactures a portable grilled? Is there a demand for, like, portable grilled cheese makers? Like, what in the world?
Well, I guess back in that time of the day, you had those plug-ins to your car that you could plug a regular plug into, so you could make it that way, or you'd get to the meet and plug it into the wall.
So you're in the back of the minivan slapping some Kraft singles on some bread with your little grilled cheese maker.
Or it was in the hotel.
Your George Foreman. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, the hotel, we'd be going to breakfast, and I'd be like, can you, like, grill this for me or put it in the toaster? Yeah, very uncomfortable conversations sometimes.
Nice. Was there any meets where like they didn't have the grilled cheese and you were all freaked out and like, how am I going to compete? Or was this grilled cheese was just always there?
None that I can remember. I think I always just had my grilled cheese.
All right, good. That's a good mom right there, making sure you got your grilled cheese and chocolate milk. All right, let's go through some gymnastics career highlights and or a funny story or two. Let's start with a Tennessee memory or two. Because I know you've actually competed in Tennessee twice at a meet called the Ozone Invitational here in Tennessee. By the way, shout out to Ozone Leotards, man. They're a top-notch company. They're the ones who actually outfitted the Brazilian team this year. So they were wearing Ozone apparel. And they have taken good care of us whenever we've had elites on the big stage. They've always sent us stuff free of charge and had our kids looking great at all times. So anyway, you competed at an Ozone Invitational 2 different times here in Tennessee, and you've got a couple of cool memories from that meet. Will you share them?
Yeah, so my first memory I have from that meet was either my first or second year of level 8. I was finally flipping my vault, and that was the first meet I ever got a first place medal as an optional, and it was on vault at that meet. And for some reason, my mom had posted it on her Facebook page, and Michaela Skinner had liked that post, and we still don't know why.
So Michaela Skinner's checking out old Adysen Mazzoni on Facebook and goes, hey, there's a pretty good flip and vault.
Yeah.
Giving it a like.
And
That's,
then, yeah.
that's pretty cool. My audience needs to understand a flipping vault means these kids, when they're first coming up through the levels, they're doing a flip over the vault table, but it's just one. A flipping vault is one where they're flipping onto the table and then flipping again on their way off. And level 8 is the first level that you're allowed to do that because of safety reasons. And a lot of times at level 8, there's plenty of teams out there that I just turn around and don't watch because I'm quite certain somebody's going to die. So she's flipping for the very first time, obviously doing gymnastics at a good gym that I would watch. And not only did you make it, but you won vault at that meet?
Yes.
All right. And winning vault, was that a common occurrence for you before that? Or was this kind of like, wow, all of a sudden I'm good at vault?
That was the first time I ever won anything as an optional.
Okay. All right. So it was the first time you were ever good.
Yeah.
All right. And then there's a second Ozone.
Yeah. My second story from Ozone, it was my first time ever doing my Yurchenko full twist at a meet.
Okay,
I landed.
Yurchenko full twist audience is she does a flip on the floor onto the springboard, then a backflip onto the table, and then does a laid out backflip with a full twist, all before she hits the ground. So it's a legit big girl vault. In fact, there were some Olympians that competed Yurchenko fulls in this Olympics. So big time. And did you get first place on that one?
No.
Did Michaela Skinner like it?
No.
Okay. Well, those are still pretty incredible stories. Any more like gymnastics career highlights, gymnast Addie, before we move on to some other things?
The one that I can think of is my level 9 season, before I went to level 10.
Mm-hmm.
I qualified for Eastern Nationals. I won floor and all around.
Okay,
there.
wait. Let me help my audience around too, because if you have a cheerleader in your neighborhood, everybody makes nationals. I mean, all you got to do is sign on the dotted line. In the gymnastics world, that is not how it works. Every year, 70,000 kids start out as level 3s. The first time you have an option to compete at nationals is when you're a level 9. And there's about 3,500 level 9s. So 70,000 start the journey, 3,500 make it to level 9. Then, in order to get to nationals, you have to qualify to your state championship meet, which is just a qualification score. And then at that meet, you have one opportunity to get a qualifying score to a regional championship meet, which is in most cases 8 states. And Region 8, which is where Florida is, and Tennessee also, is always either the best region, therefore the hardest region to qualify, or the second best, usually behind Region 5. So at that regional competition, you have one chance to be in the top 7, to qualify on to nationals. So when Addie says, hey, I was a level 9 and I made Eastern National Championships, this isn't like, well, we signed on the dotted line and then we were there. Like, she literally went from 70,000 to 3,500 to one of the best in the state of Florida, which is arguably one of the best states in the country at women's gymnastics, to one of the best in Region 8, which is one of the 2 best regions in the country, on to nationals. It's the real deal when she made it there. And then you made it there and did what?
I won all around and floor.
Won all around and floor. And weren't leading in the all around. Floor was your last event, right?
Yes.
And you weren't leading in the all around, and people probably weren't even thinking Addison was a threat. But you went in, you busted out a killer floor routine, scored
9-7.
9-7, and then went first place in the all around. Pretty awesome. And then some other opportunities were afforded you after you won that national championship in the all around and on floor. What were those?
I got invited to DP National Camp and our Region 8 All-Star team.
Wow. All right. Did you go on the Region 8 All-Star trip?
Yes, I went.
Where did you guys go?
We went to Orlando.
Oh, no.
It was really
the 1 year is in Orlando. So what, you rolled out of bed at 8 o'clock and were there at 8:45 for you? I mean, I know Orlando's like 2 hours from your house.
Yeah.
What a
much.
bummer. Like sometimes they go to the Bahamas or Acapulco, like, and year they're like, hey, I got a great idea. Let's go to Orlando. And you're like, wah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Jeez. Was it fun anyway?
Yeah, I had a lot of fun.
All right. All right. So right now, you're a level 10. We're not level 9 anymore, but you have had a few obstacles get in your way since your fantastic level 9 season. Tell us first. The first obstacle was about you moving on from Evo because they canceled their girls' team. Tell us about that, what that was like. Was that devastating? Was that easy? Whatever. Finding the right gym that was a good fit for you. Talk about all that.
It was definitely really difficult because I thought at Evo I had found somewhere where I was like, it was like home. I had been there for so long. So it just like.
And you were at Evo when you won your championship. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
So it was just really hard to move on. So then just trying to find like the right fit for me was also really hard because I wanted somewhere that was like.
You tried a bunch of different gyms.
Yeah, I did. I just wanted somewhere that was more like homey feeling and then like team orientated and with great coaches and a great team environment.
So somewhere in there, before you're at your gym home where you are now, you're at a camp and you get coached by...
My coaches I have now.
Yeah, Mel on beam.
Yes.
Right? And you two hit it off right away. And this led you to eventually end up at LaFleur's Largo where Mel and Nick coach, right? And talk to us about them because there's a real connection there. These guys are great for you. Tell us about why there's that connection, what that connection looks like, and why that's so important to you.
For me, it was like I feel like I clicked with them right when I walked in, and they're more worried about you as a person and like your mental health than they are about your gymnastics, and I really like that about them.
And by the way, they're great gymnastics coaches. They
Yeah,
continually
they are.
produce great athletes. Okay, keep going. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
It's okay. And I just felt like it was very easy to build a relationship with them, and it's just overall such a great like experience for me.
So you just connected and you felt like they were kind. They treated the human being Addison before they treated the athlete Addison. And they treat them both, right?
Yeah.
And they treat them both kindly and whatever. So big shout out to LaFleur's Largo and Mel and Nick. You guys are doing a great job. And Addie loves you guys. If you could have Ken Harris or Tom Forrester for 1 year walking with you while you navigate your business's needs, if you could have them to run your ideas past, get their input on various situations as they arise, how much more efficient could your business become? Go to ironbusinesssolutions.com today and inquire about our gold medal business package. So other obstacles have been some injuries. In fact, you've had some injuries that have kept you from accepting a scholarship at this point. Do you want to talk a little bit about some of those setbacks, some of those injuries?
So my most recent, I just had ankle surgery. I was doing a floor routine at practice, and a kid walked in front of me. So now it's a stop.
Golly, Bob, howdy.
Yeah.
Right? Of all the ways to get injured, right, is you're minding your own business, doing what you're supposed to. You're well prepared. You're well conditioned. So it's not an overuse injury. It's not a you did something dumb injury. It's another kid in the gym who certainly did not mean to harm you, right? It wasn't malicious. Just a kid doing what kids do and not paying attention to their surroundings and runs across the floor in the middle of your floor routine. In fact, in the middle of a tumbling pass. What was the tumbling pass supposed to be?
It was supposed to be a front layout Rudy.
And what did it end up being?
A run and fall to the floor.
And it tore up your ankle.
Yeah, I just had a really pretty bad sprain. And then as it was healing, I got some like gunk built up in my joints. They just went in and cleaned out my joint.
And so were you able to have a level 10 season really this year at all?
No,
And the
did not.
previous level 10 season, what happened? Did you have an elbow surgery or?
No, that was like before my level 9 seasons.
Oh, before your level 9 season. Okay, so you've recovered from all your elbow surgeries and all that stuff. Speaking of obstacles and setbacks, Marcia, I'm going to throw a curveball at you. Tell us about the condition Addie was born with, that it's very nearly a miracle that she's a gymnast.
Yeah, so when she was born with a condition called torticollis, which there are a lot of babies that are actually born with it. Unfortunately, she was just born with more of a severe case of it, which affected the whole left side of her.
Talk to my audience about what torticollis is, because I'm sure they don't know. I didn't know until I looked it up.
I don't know like the medical details. I just know that the muscles weren't strong and they weren't stretching as she was developing in utero. So when she came out, she couldn't move her head a certain way. She couldn't move her arms a certain way, which really led to her to have to do like occupational therapy. We had like a speech type person coming in to teach her how to eat. We had to do vision therapy a little bit. And at one point, the doctors are like, she's going to be semi a normal kid, but we're not sure if she's going to be able to keep up maybe with other kids. It's kind of a nice way of putting it to us. Unfortunately, as her mom, I'm like, that's unacceptable. Like, I feel like there's other things. So we had gotten her a trampoline, like just a mini trampoline, and she would jump on it and jump on it and jump on it. And it just kept making her stronger and stronger and stronger. And then when she got older and she started gymnastics, the left side was her weaker side, but gymnastics made her strong. And it just now...
And for my audience, she was doing these occupational therapies and these physical therapies into her gymnastics career. So she'd already started gymnastics and was still having to...
So not exactly. I think she was 2 when she finished occupational and physical. It was just like vision therapy. Vision therapy went a little bit longer. And at one point, she was doing gymnastics but had to be eye patched, different things like that. But gymnastics definitely made her a lot stronger.
So you had an eye patch like a pirate. So did you love it when you went to bars? You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm a dad. I'll be here all week. Where were we? That was totally just... But you said eye patch. What was I to do? I had to make a pirate joke.
Right. So we've come to realize now, especially when she was younger, the weakness in her left side did kind of follow through until she was maybe 12 or 13, where she was able to get more control of that side. But it did hinder her gymnastics in the compulsories.
Yeah. And how old were you when you won that natty?
12, 13.
So right after... You could, because I remember we talked about this in one of our meetups on Zoom, that it wasn't till about then that you could straighten your left arm all the way, right?
No, I wasn't able to flex my arm.
Oh yeah, okay, flex your arm. Okay, straighten, bend, totally different things. So right after that gets sorted, boom, Addie goes straight to the top. And then right after Addie's at the top, she crashes on the head of some little kid running across the floor and messes up her foot. So, which brings us back to the original topic, which is your college recruitment had been a little hindered by the fact that you've had a couple of injury seasons right in a row. But lately, it's been very encouraging. You've been on several visits, right? You've enjoyed yourself, had good conversations with coaches. Will you tell us about what's important to you about finding the right school? What would make a school a good fit for Adysen Mazzoni?
For me, I'm looking for someone where it feels homey. Coaches put myself before my gymnastics. Great team environment.
So you're hoping that Nick and Mel are going to take college coaching jobs next year?
Well, no, but something similar to what I have now is basically what I'm looking for.
Sure. Where they care about the kid.
Yeah.
What about... what's important academically? What's important about the school?
Strong academics, somewhere that has a great medical program, pre-med, stuff like that.
Okay, so you want to do something in the medical field then?
Yeah.
What do you want to do?
I'm between radiology and anesthesiology.
Okay, wow. So you're either going to x-ray people or put them to sleep.
Yeah.
If I keep making pirate jokes, I'll be putting people to sleep here. Let's shift gears now, and let's talk about my favorite part of Addie, and that's the entrepreneur aspect of your life. Tell us about Chalkboss. What is that company? What do you sell?
Chalkboss is a company that I created, and we sell wristbands and leotards that I designed myself.
Okay. Gymnastics apparel?
Yes.
Yeah. How old were you when you started this?
I was 11 turning 12.
This is nuts. You were 11 turning 12 years old. What motivated you to start a company? What happened?
That's when I started my company after I had my elbow injury, and as I was coming back on bars, I couldn't find a wristband that helped me from not getting rips and supporting my wrists to where they didn't hurt because I was doing so much bars, and I just wanted to find something, but I couldn't, so I decided, like, hey, I'm going to try and make my own, and then...
You're 12 years old. You're like, I can't find a product that meets my needs. Again, you're 12, and you go, so I'll just make it. Bizarre. Like, bizarre in a good way. But first, I think the audience needs to know why you needed a new pair of wristbands.
I had this one pair of wristbands I loved. I had them like 6 or 7 years, and at the hospital, they had to cut one off.
Because of your arm injury.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they were, so I couldn't use them anymore.
And they were toxic.
They put them in biohazard bags. So after that, I was trying to find a new pair, but didn't succeed very well with that.
So when you first started, and they're called Boss Bands, right?
Yeah.
They're by Chalkboss, the company. When you first started on these wristbands, you were making them all in-house yourself, right?
I knew how to sew a little bit, but I had to definitely learn a lot about it, and my mom actually taught me how to do most of it, sewing-wise, so.
So you're in there like on a sewing machine, like little 12-year-old Addie sewing wristbands, and you're selling them to everybody? They're all like crooked stitches and stuff like that?
For me, since I'm a gymnast, I have a little bit of perfectionism in me, so they weren't always very crooked. And when we started, we weren't selling them. They were just for me.
Got it.
Yeah. And then, so once some of my teammates saw me wearing them, they wanted to try them. And so I was making some for them and just giving it to them. And then it just kind of kept growing.
Yeah. So you eventually start to sell them. And then, Marcia, they're such a great product. You had to, I don't know, acquire a patent? What brought that on?
Yeah. So after she had designed them and she had been using them, and then other people were basically trying them out, and we were getting a lot of feedback, my husband came to me and said, I think that we should do a patent. We need to protect her creation. This is Addie, whatever she wants to do with it in the future. Not that we planned on having a business, but we just wanted to make sure that what she created and loves and what other people are really starting to love is hers. I never would have thought of it. She probably never would have thought of it, but he also is like, that's something that could be big later on, but we didn't really expect it to be big within the first year.
All right, so eventually you guys were selling so much product that you had to outsource the manufacturing. How many Boss Bands and leotards do you sell in a week?
Boss Bands, we sell around 100 per week.
Every week?
Yes.
Okay.
And Leos, we sell about 50 per week.
So you're selling about 400 plus Boss Bands a month, 5,000 Boss Bands a year.
Yes.
And another 2,000 to 3,000 leotards a year.
Yes.
This is absolutely incredible. You haven't reached your 18th birthday, and you have a company that generates so much revenue that you actually employ 4 full-time people. There are people out there that are feeding their families or making their car payments because Chalkboss exists, which exists because a 12-year-old said, hey, I've got an idea to make a better wristband than what's currently out there for gymnasts. So when you think about that, how does that make you feel in the first place?
I'd say I feel pretty great knowing that I can make that kind of impact on people.
I mean, you're literally, I keep saying this, you haven't graduated high school yet. You haven't even had your first day of your senior year. Mm-hmm. And you started this back when you were 12, and you're contributing to the economy. Like, for real. That's amazing. All right. So it was born out of you saying, I want to build a better wristband and better leotards. Will you talk to me a little bit about your Boss Bands? What makes them unique? What makes them better?
For the wristbands, I'd say they're really soft, really comfortable, but they're also really supporting, and they'll help keep from ripping or getting rubbing from grips. And for me, finding the right material was the most important thing because I'm very picky. So finding something that I liked was I'd say the hardest part for me. But
So they had to be soft, but I feel like when we were talking at breakfast this morning, they also had to be firm because you needed wristbands that provided some support or something like that. Talk about that. How did you create a product that was both soft and firm?
I'd say it's what we use on the inside will help with the firmness.
And that's where the patent comes in.
Yes.
Because you guys put together a really unique design on the inside of those wristbands that you don't get any of that wrist rub from your grips that all gymnasts get, those little blisters or rub raw right in here, right? You got plenty of support when you're up there, and you needed support specifically because of the elbow surgery. You felt like you wanted extra support in your wrists when you were doing bars, right?
Yeah.
All right. And what about the leotards? What's unique about them?
I'd say the material we use, it's really soft, really comfortable, very breathable. And then our seams, they don't dig in, they don't rub, which is a big thing
Any
for me.
gymnasts out there, listen up. If you, my daughter did gymnastics, and like we have this huge pro shop with zillions of leotards. So she literally, because she's daddy's little princess, could come in on any given day and say, I want that leotard, and she could have it. And she probably had 40 or 50 leotards at any given time and always wore the same two because the seams, the breathability, right? All the things that you're talking about. Talk to my audience about your level of involvement on quality control on these.
So every time we're coming out with like a new Leo, a new print, new design, they always have me come in and try them on. So to make sure everything's right. And if I don't like something, I'll tell them like, I don't like this. They'll remake it. They'll fix what I tell them. And they're basically fixing like all the things that I find wrong with them.
Literally, quality control at your company is a gymnast who uses the product, puts the product on, uses it, and says, nope, try again, or hey, great job, right? That's literally what you do. For a company that sells 3,000 leotards a year, 5,000 boss bands a year, that's amazing. Do you guys sell anything else?
We have a little bit of like apparel. We do like t-shirts. Sometimes we do sweatshirts, just a whole bunch of different things.
Okay. And at one point, I think maybe you guys were doing like some kind of matching sports bras for the leotards. That doesn't happen anymore.
No, we don't do those anymore.
Okay. All right. So my wife and I, we've been described as serial entrepreneurs because we always start up businesses and whatever. And we're huge fans of other entrepreneurs. And because our first entrepreneurial adventure together was coaching kids, we especially love child entrepreneurs. For example, one of my former athletes started, she was probably 9 or 10 or something like that. She started making homemade dog biscuits, right? Like in her oven with the ingredients. And we had 4 large dogs at the time. So I was ordering these things dozens at a time, keeping this kid busy because I was just a fan. Like, I don't even know if my dogs liked the biscuits. They probably did because this same girl turned her dog biscuit company into a people biscuit company. She started making cookies, and they're some of the best cookies you'll ever have. So anytime we had a staff function or a family get together or whatever, I'm literally ordering her cookies by the hundreds. And it might have been like if I had an event at my house on Sunday for the staff, we have like 70-something people that work for ECT Gymnastics. And if we have these events, spouses and children are welcome. So I might order 200 or 300 cookies from a kid who's making them in her mom's kitchen in the oven, a couple of cookie trays at a time. And so she might have to start on Wednesday afternoon baking cookies so that she could get all 300 to me in time. But that's where we are. We love that. I love that here you were, again, at 12 years old, starting your own company. I'm confident that this dog biscuit cookie kid is going to grow up and have her own business and be hugely successful because, like, she learned, hey, when I was 14 years old, my coach ordered 300 cookies from me, and it was a lot of work. But, man, I got paid cash money and had more money than my 14-year-old friends, right? Our feeling is, mine and Jennifer's, is that our entrepreneurial spirit made us who we are today. It taught us about hard work. It taught us about setting long-term goals. It taught us how to fail successfully, because that's a part of it. You're going to fail, but failing successfully is all about learning from your failures, right? And all of this has been wonderful, literally all of it. So we want to celebrate young people who have that same spirit, and we want to encourage them and foster that spirit. This is a large part of why I reached out to your mom all those months ago to say, hey, do you think Addie would be willing to come on the show? So Marcia, I want to start with a question for you, because obviously you're a parent of a young entrepreneur. And as I've gotten to know you, turns out you're a serial entrepreneur, the same as Jennifer and I are. Are you seeing any sort of like life skills other than financial benefits that Addie is developing as a result of her endeavors as an entrepreneur, whether that was Chalkboss or being a social media influencer, which we'll get to in a little bit?
So I would say besides the financial part, it's a lot of just developing who she's becoming as she's going into her adult stages and going off to college, time management, learning how to take criticism, learning that, just because I love my product, there's 100 people that might not like it. They're going to say something about it. She's really learned how to handle herself in difficult situations, but she's also learned that it's okay to have dreams or, follow things. Like if I don't like something, I'm the one that can make the changes because no one else is going to do it for me. And that's just all great things that's going to take her into adulthood. And hopefully she keeps continuing to pass on to others.
Man, that's awesome. You and I talked at lunch today about sort of our job as parents is to take these little kids and raise them to be productive members of society. And we talked about like when our kids start a business, even if it's a lemonade stand or whatever, they're acquiring those skills that will make them productive members of society. And I already praised Addie for being productive. Like, you have 4 full-time employees. Like, people eat because they have a job because of Chalkboss. All right, I'm going to stop being such a fanboy. No, I'm not. I'm going to keep being a fanboy. All right, Marcia, how much of this Chalkboss is Addie driven? And what kind of support have you provided? How have you intentionally moved to get her to a space where she's doing more of the management of the company? And how much is reasonable to expect of a high school kid doing high-level athletics?
So this has always been kind of the difficult thing for us to balance out throughout the last couple of years, because you can't really expect a whole lot out of a 12-year-old. She made a great product. She loved it. It just not in the plans that we were going to start a business. It just kind of happened. We both were excited about it. So of course it was a lot of mom work at first. She still had a lot of say in the background, but she was training 30 hours a week. She's got schoolwork. So there wasn't a whole lot of time besides design of the product, making sure quality is there, picking out prints, all the fun stuff. So
Sure.
she's been continuously doing that the last couple of years. Anytime we have any changes, anything like that, she does have a lot of say in everything. But next month, she turns 18. So we are restructuring the company. She will finally be able to take a little bit more control, which is still a fine line when you go to college, and especially if she decides to compete as a gymnast, because that's a full-time job. Studying's a full-time job. And quite honestly, to her dad and I, her education is very important, whatever she wants to do, whether it's to come back to the business or not. So right now, when she turns 18, she's going to start taking over social media. She's going to start doing a little bit more of the design work and things like that. But other than that, you can't ask somebody to even do more when there's not really more time to give without quality of either education, quality of the business, or quality of any little bit of time that she has left. Something would have to give. And right now we're just going to let her kind of slowly keep moving into more responsibilities as time allows.
And that's sort of been true these first 5 years, right? You've sort of incrementally given her more responsibility so that she can learn sort of the ropes of the business. Makes a lot of sense. It's a great plan to get her going. What kind of financial controls are you helping with or putting in place? In other words, like what kind of spending limits, if any, are you imposing on Addie to help her stay grounded even with a highly successful business?
So, I mean, we've only been in business for 5 years. So the first 2 to 3 years, you're not making a ton of money. You may have a lot of sales, you may have this, you may have that, but it's all going back into the business. So there wasn't a lot that we had to actually, that there was to really divvy out between anybody. But when we did start, it was, she got to put a lot of it back into her gymnastics. Not that she was paying 100% of her gymnastics, but it did help. Like, say she wanted the newest leotard on the market. She was able to be like, okay.
Her parents didn't own a gym with a big pro shop,
No,
so they had to pay money.
No, or, 1 year she got to go to several gymnastics camps, and we got to travel a little bit more for gymnastics, things like that. So those things were more opportunity to her compared to, like, say, our younger kids who may not have had that opportunity, but she had the money that was available. We've put money away for her for college if she needs it. And then when she was able to drive, she got, she was able to get her car. So
she got a car.
She did.
All right. Did you get to pick it out?
I had a little bit of say in it.
Little bit of say. What was the deal there? How did she have a little say?
So she did. My biggest thing, she's driving an hour by herself on major interstates to practice. So I was all about safety. And I needed it to have certain things. So, of course, some of the safety features is more like grandma cars to everybody else. So I gave her the option of 4 different cars, and then she got to choose which one she wanted.
What were the options? Talk to me about the options. What could she pick from?
She had a Kia. She had a Buick.
Buick because she's 80. And that's exactly what every 17-year-old wants to roll up to high school in a Buick. Did you get her some free dent gum so that her dentures didn't fall out or no? All right, what else?
I put butterscotch in there for her.
My grandma always kept butterscotch in her purse. Nice.
And then there was actually one that I thought she would have picked. It was a Lexus, and it had really cool red interior. And then a Jeep Compass.
Okay. And you chose?
Chose the Kia.
The Kia. All right. What kind of Kia is it?
I have a Kia Sportage.
Oh, okay. And so now you're going to be rolling up to school in a Sportage, and I don't think a Kia Sportage is grandma car at all.
No.
I think that beats the heck out of the Buick.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm shocked. Mercury Grand Marquis didn't make the list over there.
They didn't have the safety features I was looking
Okay,
for.
Got it. All right. Are you looking forward to a time when you can turn over all the controls to Addie, or how much of your time does this endeavor take, like, right now?
So thankfully, once we outsourced all the sewing, because at one point in time, between the two of us, we were both doing sewing. So, and mostly Mom because of her schedule. And I was sewing 16 hours a day someday.
Oh, my goodness.
So when we outsourced it.
You had your mom working in a sweatshop.
Basically. And it was in a garage with no air. So in Florida, yes, it literally
my
was.
goodness.
That was your choice.
It was my choice.
No, it wasn't. I've got a daughter, and it could be my choice, but it's not. Like, who wants to disappoint your baby girl, right?
We had her sewing station set up in our living room, but
it was her choice to be in the garage.
Yeah.
Not her choice to
we
be
were
16 hours.
We were very
Okay.
space constrained at the time, so I chose to move it so we could have our family rooms and things back.
Okay,
So
all right.
it was kind of my choice. And so after we started outsourcing all the sewing, I could just continuously focus on marketing, emailing, things like that. So my time into the business is way less than what it used to be. And of course, when she starts taking over the internet stuff and all the marketing and handling our ambassadors and stuff, my time will actually go down even more. So I want her to focus on college.
Okay, so that brings me to a great question. Addie, what is running Chalkboss from a dorm going to look like next year?
For me, I'm gonna be doing more social media aspect of it and helping with the ambassadors, like she said. Maybe I'll still probably promote the Leos and wristbands and things and post about it and help I guess. I don't know. It's definitely gonna be different. I can say that because it'll be not from home, obviously,
Sure.
and I'll be doing a lot of it by myself too.
Oh, boy. Are you looking forward to it?
I'm a little nervous.
A little nervous. All right. I'm not surprised. All right. So do you have any desire after college to maybe take this company to some sort of global level? Would you like to see it expand the products it offers? Have you given it any thought?
So we already have some of our products globally. We ship globally, and we have
Okay.
an outsource.
One more time. You started a company when you were 12. You haven't gone to your first day of your senior year and you have a global company?
Yeah.
Okay. Yikes. Do you also play the violin? Are you on the verge of curing cancer? Like, what else is going on?
No, but I wanted to play the violin when I was little.
All right, wait a minute. We were talking about if you want to expand the products, that kind of thing. You were in the middle. I interrupted you with jokes. You said we were already global.
Yes, we are already global. Maybe like expand some of the products that we ship globally, like shirts and hoodies and things, but we already ship Leos and wristbands and everything globally. I would also maybe like expand some of the merch we sell, like t-shirts, that kind of thing. Other than that, I feel like at the moment we have like
You know what I think? You
a
guys
good
need to
amount.
sell visors. There needs to be a Chalkboss visor. No. What if we had a Coach Ken Boss branch of Chalkboss, and we just had my face on some of your stuff, like a leotard or some merch, like, my face with the visor and the glasses, like that would probably, you'd sell at least 2 or 3.
Yeah,
To
that
your
probably.
wife?
Oh no, there's no way she's buying it. I'm buying them.
Oh, there you go.
All right. What about, do you have a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, a 20-year vision maybe for where you'd like to see this company going?
5 years, I just hope that it keeps expanding and we keep selling more and more as we keep going. For 10 years, I'm not really. No.
I mean, 10 years right now literally represents more than 50% of your life. So I can understand why maybe you don't have a 10-year vision. But for all of my listeners, Dave Ramsey, you guys know I'm a big Dave Ramsey guy, says all the time that the difference between a dream and a goal is a plan. So if you don't own a gym, but you want to one day, instead of saying, I want to own a gym one day and hope that the gym fairies drop one in your lap, create a plan. Have a little 5-year vision for yourself. Where do I want to be? How much closer do I want to be to owning a gym in 5 years? Or if you own a gym right now and you would like to sell it one day so that you can retire on an island, don't just say, well, I hope to sell my business one day so I can retire. Have a little plan with some steps in between. Thanks, Addie, for allowing me to plug this to my audience. If you're 17, you can wait a little bit on your plan. All right. I'm obviously super impressed with your company. It's amazing. And I'm going to say again, this is enough fanboying, but if I know me, I'm going to fanboy some more here. Let's move on to the third aspect of your life. And it's the fact that you're a social media influencer. How does it make you feel when I call you that?
Sometimes I think I'm not even an influencer, but I know that I have an impact on some of the little girls that follow my page and that I make a difference for them. So sometimes I feel pretty good about it. So
You feel good about it? But you don't walk around in your daily life even thinking of yourself as a social media influencer, do you?
no.
Yeah, because when we had our first little Zoom call to talk about maybe coming on the show, I said, hey, what do you think about the fact that you're a social media influencer? And you're like, who, me? Right? Yeah. That's one of the neat things about you. You don't have any head about it. So, Marcia, you have a kid who is a social media influencer. At one point, she had close to 500,000 followers. And you began to notice that a bunch of those followers probably were people that I don't think they're following this because they're into Chalkboss or into these things. So you ended up deleting a couple 100,000 of her followers, right? So right now she still has about a quarter of a million followers on Instagram. And you have had, because you're a caring mother, had a huge role in managing Addie's social media up to this point. For all the parents out there whose little girls are beginning to pick up a following, do you have any advice? Do you want to share maybe a lesson or two that you've learned? Talk to us about that.
So her being on social media, I guess whenever we first started social media and Instagram, it was really because we had moved to Florida from Pennsylvania. We were all away from our family. And so it was a way to kind of show off, her gymnastics, her life, whatever. And then, and we didn't think anything of it. But then when she ended up getting injured and we started kind of just on the daily life, like showing her recovery, going through therapy, she became more real to a lot of people, like younger girls going out there. And so then there was parents, there was girls, there was all these people reaching out to us because they never really, most people on social media, it's always the good. It's never the struggle. And so she was sharing like the struggle of coming back. And then after she came back and kicked butt. So then the parents are like, wait a second, how are you doing all these things? So it kind of just kept growing and growing. But at one point, I think it was maybe 2 years ago, as she's, maturing and getting older, a lot of the following became male-based. And it kind of started throwing up red flags. So one day I was like, okay, I put her account on private and I just started deleting. And I've done this several times in increments, 50,000, 100,000, until one day I just realized I can't control it. Here's the decision that Addison and I have to make. And we had a conversation about this. Do you want your life to be private and not have people, looking at you in certain ways or making assumptions of you in certain ways? Or do you want to be public? And we're just going to have to really monitor how you put yourself out there, what you post, who you represent, and what your values are. And she really kind of liked being able to be a role model to the girls because she was making an impact in other ways that maybe people don't always see.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
And so, it always has to be an open conversation. So if you have a little one that's like 5 or 6 and can't have that open conversation, I don't really feel like you should be putting them out there very publicly until they're ready for those open conversations and old enough to understand what's actually happening. Because a parent-run Instagram account, if it's public, it might be monitored. It's never safe. It's never safe. You don't know who's on there. I have found out other gymnastics profiles that are showcasing other gymnasts are really creepy men in the background. And they eventually will message you and ask you for inappropriate things. But if you look at their social media, it's a girl that's 12 years old. So even if you're private or whatever, if you don't know the person personally and you are uncomfortable or your child doesn't have the understanding, I would just say, wait, just wait. It'll happen in its own time if that's what they want. But I've been seeing a lot of things out there that I don't know if the kid really even understands what's happening. So I always say to her, you don't have to do this. This is something either you want to do or you don't want to do, and you can just stop at any given time. And her biggest concern is like, what will people think? Who cares what people think?
Right?
Yeah.
Good advice. So Addie, in our lead up to this show, you and I talked about the fact that you've been approached by some companies to advertise or be an ambassador for that you politely declined because you didn't feel like those items or brands were consistent with who you were as a person. I have a huge amount of respect for you on that front. So what part of your influencer status do you feel an obligation to other little girls who are looking up to you? In other words, do you see yourself as a role model, and does that affect what you're willing to post or sell?
Yes, I do see myself as a role model to little kids.
Love it.
And I also, yes, it does affect what I'm willing to post because I don't want some creepy man like using my pictures for something else or doing it for whatever else. So some things I do turn down because I feel like that's not what my Instagram page is about.
Yeah, your brand isn't about selling Addie's attractiveness or whatever. Your brand is about wholesome and, hey, we have a need in the gymnastics industry for these items that I'm selling. They're unique, right? And you're constantly conscious, like, of what you post on there. There's always like a little Addie, angel Addie on your shoulder going, hey, there might be a 10-year-old girl in the gym who's watching what I post, and she might try to duplicate this. Is this something I would want that little 10-year-old girl to post? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one of the things I really admire about you. All right. So what are some companies that have sent you some stuff that you were willing to promote?
A couple of my favorites. One of them was Beam Queen Bootcamp. They really helped me like expand my Instagram, and they were really good with me. And it was overall.
Sam Pescic runs that. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's great.
It was overall, it's like such a great experience. And then my next favorite is the Athletic Cosmetic. They have great products. Like overall, just love them so much.
What's your 2 or 3 favorite products from Athletic cosmetics?
I like their hyaluronic acid serum and their mascara.
What do your friends think about you being an influencer?
Most of my friends, like from school, they didn't even know.
Wait, so you at one point again had 500,000 followers before your mom pumped the brakes on that. And you're walking around high school with 500,000 Instagram followers and your friends didn't know? How do
Yeah.
they not know? Don't they ask you for your Instagram?
I have my own little small account that has maybe 200 followers on
200.
it.
So your friends are like, "Hey, what's your Instagram?" You're giving them one and they're like, "What a loser. She has 200." Meanwhile, you have this other one with 500,000 people following you. All right. So first of all, let's talk about how they found out. Because it turns out your twin brother might be a little bit of a snitch,
Yeah.
right? All right, what happened?
So basically, he had a class in the media center, and so did I. And he ended up, I don't know how it got brought up in conversation, but he was blabbing to his teacher.
Blabbing to his teacher, thanks, Tobias.
About my Instagram and like how I get sent things and how I have my car because of it and all that other stuff.
And he's all bitter
he's very
that
bitter.
you got a brand new car, and all he got, Marcia, was your Audi.
Right.
You're driving a Kia, he's driving an Audi, and he's bitter. He's like, "That's not fair. Yours is brand new, and mine's mom's old car," right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and because of his bitterness, he blabbed to what, like the driver's ed teacher or something?
Yeah.
That, yeah, well, my stupid sister has 500,000 followers on Instagram.
Yeah. And one day I was walking like into that class from the courtyard and he was walking out and he goes, "Oh yeah, Tobias told me about your Instagram." And I was like, "Of course he did." And it just kept getting brought up.
And so some of your friends found out and they were going like, "What is this?"
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Do they think any different of you?
No, not really.
Okay,
Because they don't know me as the influencer. They know me as me. Because they
okay.
didn't know about it.
Marcia, what do you think about Addie being an influencer?
So, I mean, it's definitely a struggle some days. I'm glad that she kind of enjoys it. Some days it's actually work. It is a lot of work, especially when people are sending her things and stuff like that. But as long as she's happy and as long as she understands what is always going around her and,
So can I interrupt real fast? You say people sending her things. Do people DM you first and say, "Hey, we're going to send you this product," or do boxes just show up?
Sometimes boxes just show up, but most of the time they'll be like, "Hey, are you interested in this? Can we send you this? Will you promote it for us?" But if it's a company I'd like previously done, sometimes they'll just like randomly show up. I'm like, "Oh, did you buy this?" And she's like, "No."
Okay, so I need to get your address before you leave because it's clear Chalkboss isn't going to do. But I'm going to send visors to your house and just be like, "Here, you should wear these." Sorry. All right, keep going. We were talking about what you think and why on some days it's difficult.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm proud of her. She really has been able to make a big change and impact actually through social media. Some days it's a challenge because it's tiring. It can be work. And sometimes she's just like, "I don't have time," or "I just don't want to do this today." And then other times, like the experiences, she's raised a lot of money. Like one year she's raised money for Toys for Tots and was able to send them a big check. And
Wow.
she's raised money for hurricane shelters. She's raised money for one of our local, well, not local, but in Jacksonville, a gym burned down. So we raised a couple thousand for them.
Wow.
So she's been able to do a lot of different things because she's had that platform. And at one point, with Save Sport and all the things that have been going around in the industry, and then obviously just on the internet in general, we've had a lot of concerns and some questions, but we've really learned how to manage it as a family. And anytime that she feels uncomfortable, like, because I do a lot of her posting and stuff for her, even though she knows what is posting, I monitor everything, I do everything. And she, we always talk about things on like, "I don't like that. Okay, well, what can we do better next time?" Or she'll be like, "I really like this. Can we do this instead?" And when she goes to college, obviously that is now going to be her responsibility as an adult because she's going to be old enough to take care of things. But it's been different. It's been challenging. It's brought up a lot of life lessons. Being in a gymnastics community and in a gym, a lot of different personalities coming in, and people always thought that was a way for her to get a lot of special treatment, which it really has. A following on Instagram is never going to give a gymnast a superpower. It's not going to make them better. That's
Yep.
all hard work and dedication to the sport. She's had, friends people that wanted to be friends with her just because she was an influencer. And, they would just drop her like they're hot after they got what they needed from her, things like that. And so these lessons will make her stronger, I feel like, as she goes in. But it was really hard to have to be by her side while it was happening.
Addie, do you have enough followers that you get recognized places? If so, where? Tell us the story.
I've gotten recognized a few times at meets, but usually I don't get recognized. I do know one time I did get recognized in a Walmart.
In a Walmart? Tell us about that.
I was
buying some toothpaste and
I think I was picking up like tape or something for practice, and some little girl came up to me and she's like, "Are you Addie?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she goes, "You own Chalkboss, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do." She was like so excited and like wanted a picture. It was the cutest thing.
Sweet.
But I don't get recognized.
Did you tell her to tag you in the picture so that you could put it up?
No, I kind of forgot. I was a little nervous. I was like freaking out.
You're such an amateur influencer.
Yeah.
If you could have an expert come in, help you flesh out your long-term vision and goals for your gym, then set up the systems for you to reach those goals sooner than later, how much time with friends and family could you get back? Go to ironbusinesssolutions.com today and inquire about our custom solutions package. We had some pre-podcast Zoom calls and whatever to start to get to know each other and whatever. And one of the things you told me is that you're a huge Disney fan and that you love going to Walt Disney World in Orlando.
Yeah.
All right, so which one's your favorite park?
I like Hollywood Studios.
Hollywood Studios, why?
Their rides are better.
I assume you like Rock and Roller Coaster
Yeah.
and Tower of Terror.
I do not like Tower of Terror.
Oh, what? Tower of Terror is great.
I went on it once. It was my first ever roller coaster ride thing ever. And my brother had to carry me off the ride because
How old were you?
I was like 10.
Oh, not that young.
No.
Yeah, because I made a mistake when my son was young, like too young. He might have been 6, and we had to make him wear 3 pairs of socks or something to be tall enough to ride the thing. And in fact, I think he was 5 because he still, like, he would ride rides at the park and believe the stuff was real, And so we take him on Tower of Terror like idiots, and there's the lightning and the family disappears, and he's like, "What's going on? I'm going to disappear. This is awful." The ride part didn't bother him, but the scary story bothered him. And then, like, it was until he was 10 that we could convince him to ride it again because we traumatized him. But you were already 10.
Yeah, I was.
All right, so what's the other great ride over there at Hollywood Studios?
I like the Slinky Dog one.
Oh, yeah, Slink Dog. That is a good one. All right, I forgot about that. All right, so what's your favorite ride in each of the parks? Let's go through them. We already talked about Hollywood Studios. How about Epcot? What do you like?
I like the ball.
Really?
Yeah.
The golf ball, everybody calls it. What is it actually? Spaceship Earth. That's what it's called.
I
Okay.
don't know the name.
And then at the zoo one, the Animal Kingdom.
I like the Avatar one. I can't remember the name, but
The Flight of the Banshee?
yes.
Yeah,
that one.
oh my gosh, that thing is spectacular.
Yeah.
It's the best simulator I have ever been on. I mean, it really feels like you're flying in there. All right, and I know Magic Kingdom is supposedly for little kids, but surely you like something there.
I like the Winnie the Pooh ride.
Really?
Yeah.
Of all those? Well, I'm pretty sure I hate Winnie the Pooh because you're not old enough for this. It used to be Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, which was ballin', as the kids like to say, man. You got in like a 1900s car with a frog who was drunk driving. And he drunk drove all through the town. Literally, you crashed into a library, through a school. Eventually, you end up on some train tracks and you get run over by a train. This is for real. This really happened, people, at Disney World. You got run over by a train and end up in hell because you were drunk driving with a frog, or I guess a toad, because his name was Mr. Toad. But what an epic ride. And I see why they took it out. And Winnie the Pooh is quite the departure. So I'm still protesting. The last year, interesting trivia, the last year of Mr. Toad's Wild Ride was the year I got married and we honeymooned at Disney World. So I got to be one of the last people to ever ride Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. So I'm going to switch up my time machine questions because normally I like to ask my guests, if you could go back in time and undo any one decision you've ever made, what would it be and why? And like you're 17. So instead, what if we do this? What if I say, if you could look forward in time and have any one question answered about your future, what question would you ask?
I'd probably ask, like, where did I end up going to college? What school did I do gymnastics for?
Cool. Good question. Then all the anxiety, all the stress over being recruited, making the decision is over because you already know what's going to happen. Good answer. Good answer. Where's your dream vacation?
I want to either go to, like, Europe, like Germany, like somewhere there.
Anything specific you want to do in Germany?
Not really. I just want to explore, go
Okay.
somewhere, like, out of the country.
Would you ever consider, and I am asking you this because my wife and daughter are fascinated with all things Holocaust. They've done the Holocaust Museum and all this stuff. Would you ever consider going and visiting any of those sites or anything? Does that stuff fascinate you at all?
I heard about the Holocaust Museum at school one day, and I thought it was really cool, and I want to,
So it would be a stop for you.
yeah.
All right. So I also always like to ask my guests for a book recommendation. But again, because you're 17 and I doubt you're reading a lot of like, this book changed my life, you know? Do you have a movie or a television series you'd like to recommend?
I really like the Cars movies.
The Cars movie. I got a story about that, and I told you I had a story about this. And I don't think my son watches my podcast, so I'm going to tell this story. I think he was 3 or not quite 3 when Cars came out. And I took him and my daughter, who's 2 years older than him, to see this in the theater. And he was so young, he had to bring his blanket and his passy because I was certain he was going to fall asleep in the middle of this movie. But he did not fall asleep. Not only did he not fall asleep, but you know there's that scene near the end of the movie where Lightning McQueen's in the big race, right? And he's behind in the race, and he kind of goes up on the wall and jumps over and lands in front, so he's in first place, and then he crosses the finish line and wins. My son jumps up out of his seat, throws his blanket, throws his passy, pumps his fist in the air and says, "All right!" Because again, he's at this point in his life where like, this is definitely real and definitely happening. And thank God that car won that thing. So Cars, any other movies you wanted to recommend?
I also really like The Book of Henry.
The Book of Henry. What's that about?
It's about this kid. He has like, I don't know.
Wait, is his name Henry?
Yes.
How did I know?
He has some like sort of like disease or illness or something, and he's trying to get his best friend out of an abusive home. So he's like helping his mom try to help her because he ends up dying.
This is really weighty. This is a really heavy movie.
It's a good movie. I cried through like most of it, but I really like that movie.
Okay, I'll make a movie recommendation that is any of my viewers or audience members that know me personally are going to be blown away that I'm recommending this movie because this is not a normal like Ken movie. But there's this a rom-com called A Map of Tiny Perfect Things, and it is an absolutely wonderful movie. You might even cry in it. There is a sad element. I didn't cry. I don't cry at movies, I don't think. Although my wife and I, we like to listen to audiobooks, and we did what's the book about the dog, Marley or something? Marley and Me, I think is what it's called. And we were taking a road trip listening to this book, Marley and Me, and I'm trying to pretend I ain't crying, but I cannot see the road. The tears are so thick in my eyes. And she's just over there. She has no shame. She doesn't mind. She's crying and blowing her nose and whatever. And I'm like, no, I'm a tough guy. No, dog dying didn't bother me a bit. It bothered me. All right. Since I'm not going to make a book recommendation, I'm going to turn to my YouTube audience right now. I need you guys to drop a comment for me on a book that you think I should read. And if you include one of the books that I recommended that you wish you could read, I'll draw a random winner next month, and I'll send you a copy of that book on me. So YouTube audience, drop a comment of a book you think I should read and one of the books that I've already recommended that you wish you read, and I might send you a copy of that book. This way, I win by getting a fantastic book recommendation, and you win by getting a free book. Addison, Marcia, it's been an absolute privilege to have you guys on the show today. Good luck to you in your business, Chalkboss. I'll leave a link in the YouTube comment section for people to find you, which is at www.chalkboss.shop. And for my audience, you guys can get a 15% discount by using the promo code STICKIT, all one word, with a capital S, STICKIT, at chalkboss.shop. You'll get a 15% discount. I'm not sure what this means to you, Addie, but I am super proud of you and your business success, and I wish you many more of those successes. Thank you to my producer, Tom, for accommodating us today. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, or email me at kenharrisironbusiness@gmail.com. And you can find Addie on Instagram at gymnast_Addison, and Addison is spelled Adysen, at gymnast_Addison on Instagram to follow her and be influenced positively by her. If you want more information about the many ways Iron Business Solutions can help reach your vision for your gym, visit us on the web or social media. Links in the description. And if you enjoy this podcast, please be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to all of our social media. Till the next episode of Stick the Landing podcast, brought to you by Iron Business Solutions, I'm Ken Harris with Iron Business Solutions, and we'll have stories to tell and solutions to deliver for your business. Hey, if you enjoy this podcast, please be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to all of our social media and leave us a review. Links in the description.